Good evening, everyone. This is a good day. Day 1047. 1047 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And why am I saying it's a good day? Well, really, because my mom got a pretty good, clean bill of health today. And so I'm feeling really blessed that after everything she's been through, she's doing pretty good. So I just want to say thank you, right? Just say thank you. Um, so many prayers and so many caring people. And so, it's these little victories that get us through. So I had a good day, very, very busy day. And I want to talk about the importance of filing. Let me see if I can get this organized a little bit. Filing criminal complaints. That's what I want to talk about today because I think that well, at least and I think our family, we feel like in order to file a criminal complaint, we have to do all the investigations in it, have all the evidence, do everything, solve the whole crime in order to file a criminal complaint. And that's not the case. That's not the case. The case is that you have to have a reasonable suspicion. And to learn about that, to learn what a reasonable suspicion is, it really freed us because it is the job of our law enforcement agencies to do the major investigative work because they have, and let's make sure that everything is working. Let's make sure that everything is working before I go into this. Um, there we go. It looks like it's working. Okay, let's see. It looks like it's working. Um, Let me plug it in. Looks like it's frozen a little bit. Okay, so it looks like everything's working, and we are, names are starting to come together too. Um, but I really wanted to talk about how important it is um, to file these criminal complaints. You have to lay down uh, the foundation in order to get justice. And I really thought that because, I haven't dealt with law enforcement very much, with a Department of Justice very much. Years and years ago, I was a part of the jury of a murder case in Texas and Belton County. And yeah, that was pretty clear cut. Can everybody see me on here? It looks like it's frozen. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Oh, do I have something on my eye? Y'all, I'm not very good at this stuff. Okay, whatever. Um, whatever. We're here to find Richard. We're here to get Richard's remains back. That's what we're here for. And yeah, and if it takes burning the midnight oil over and over and over again, God has filled um, my oil up. My what do you call those little lamps? The oil lamps. He's filled that up, and if I need to burn the midnight oil night after night after night to shine light on this case, this huge case, this huge case that has the ability to change the world, and it really does, because it involves the DOD and the betrayal of the leadership in the DOD. And I was really, really happy, and I hope he comes on um, tonight. A veteran, a soldier that served with Richard, came on yesterday night, and it was worth, 1,000 nights of doing live streams in order for him to come on. And what did he say? He said something really great. He said, Richard was a great soldier. And of course, and a courageous soldier. And um, we know that. We know that after 1,047 days, we know that Richard was a courageous soldier. We know that he was a great soldier because he was blowing the whistle on a criminal syndicate, not just on one person or two people, on a criminal syndicate to the Child Protective Services, to the Criminal Investigative Division. And it was so big, we haven't been able to get his Child Protective Service complaint FOIA answered because it's so big. And whereas this they covered up to us, they didn't even tell us that Richard put in a CID complaint. They avoided telling us anything, and we had to find all of this out for ourselves. And so, and even what our sources are giving us, that Tavita Nusa, when he was at the CID, because he's been relieved, but when he was at the CID there at Fort Bliss as a special agent, that he was assigned to Richard's case as a victim's advocate. Okay, he was there to protect a whistleblower, protect Richard. But instead, what did he do? He exposed Richard, illegally exposed Richard. And, um, you know, when Richard complained to the CPS, which is another why doesn't the CPS answer our FOIAs? And that's another thing that we have to address. And everything takes time in these criminal complaints and filing lawsuits and getting answers from organizations that are set and determined, and with every intent they have, um, is to weaponize themselves against the very people they are supposed to be serving, that they are supposed to be protecting. And that is definitely in this case because we have been maligned, but not as bad as Richard, of course. Richard is the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. The Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. And we have evidence and testimony that Richard is dead, that they knew Richard is dead, that the FBI, I have my poor hat. I've been wearing it so much. Um, and it says, is the FBI is the FBI, I don't know if you can see it, hiding the remains of our son. Um, because we have evidence, we have testimony that the FBI is hiding the remains of our son that they found. And why? Why would they do that? Why is this case so big? Why is this case, it needs to have the criminal complaints put in there as a foundation? And that's because Richard was brutally murdered, that he was set up, that he was forcibly disappeared, that he was tortured, that he was um, dismembered, murdered and dismembered, and that his partial remains were uh, put in the wilderness in different locations, um, after they had tampered with the remains, so that they were trying to tamper with the remains so that it would be unidentifiable. Now, that is a criminal complaint that is reasonable suspicion because of all the information that we have. And the lack of transparency from CID. And, you have Nadal Baim, who is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, right there when Richard was missing. And we were in El Paso at the time. And he showed up at a Dollar General and said that he was with the FBI. And that the FBI have found Richard, and he's dead. Shh. And then he continued and said, they were still looking for him. Okay? They were still looking for him. Well, now at 1,000. When did we get this information? 1,000 plus days later, and we got the information that he was tortured and murdered and dismembered, and his partial remains tampered with, well, and put to rest, and not even in rest, that brutally put in places, different locations, then that would make sense. Everything's making sense together. And why soldiers were shaking. Why were they shaking? Why were their boots shaking? Why was Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz shaking horribly, horribly? Like, it wasn't normal. It wasn't normal. It was like leaves on a tree at fall time. And so it was very clear to us that something very, very wrong happened to Richard. And so this fits in there. And then why would there be so much asymmetric warfare attack? Let's just say this is just all by mistake, that a group of people involved, that they're facing the death penalty, y'all. They're facing the death penalty, and that's why. And the Army is facing retaliation for their, I don't know, accountability. I think that would be the better word. Accountability for their cover up. Because Richard is the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. And what happened to him was a brutal, absolutely brutal. And you had so many of those brutal murders happening right at the time that Richard went missing. Matter of fact, there were 3 beheadings: Vanessa Guillen, Enrique Roman Martinez, and Austin Hawk. And so where was the urgency? And, where is the platoon leader? Where is the platoon leader? Where is Richard's platoon leader? I'd like to know. I would really like to know. They're saying that Dallas Hart wasn't Richard's platoon leader. Well, where is that? Where is the platoon leader? Right? So that's why it's so important, even if they don't answer you, because the CID has every intent to avoid talking to us. Our senator is avoiding speaking with us. Our representative is avoiding speaking with us. We haven't really even bugged them. Look at Senator Ted Cruz avoids um, speaking to us because this is so big when you have the DOD covering up for another brutal murder that involves child sex trafficking, that involves human trafficking, that involves the sale of military equipment over the border, military equipment that you and I pay for through our taxes, $1 trillion, and then they take that that equipment and they sell it. And what better place to do it, uh, than El Paso, because you go right over the border to Mexico and you can get a very good price on military equipment over there. And then people wonder why our military machinery and everything is not working right, is not maintained right, that we are not an army that's ready. We don't have that readiness that the is preached to us by the generals. I remember them preaching all the time about army readiness, and we're not ready because the equipment that was meant to get us ready is not there. And it is curious, if you apply that to what happened in Afghanistan, that so many, I believe 13 of our Marines were murdered because of the dereliction of the duty, the negligence of the duty of our leadership. And uh, absolutely. And they did not want to bring the equipment home. They didn't want to bring the equipment home. And, I'm like, oh, now it makes sense because the equipment wasn't accounted for. Um, they are so used to selling off this equipment and getting away with it and making a pretty penny that I'm sure the Afghanistan withdrawal didn't include our equipment, especially our night vision goggles. That gave us an advantage worldwide. Um, but they left it in Afghanistan. Why? Were they selling it? Were they making money off of the equipment that was meant to protect Afghanistan, rebuild Afghanistan? I don't know, give us some leverage over there. I don't know. I just think that all needs to be explained, and it's way over my pay grade. But I think it smells really bad. I think it's very fishy, and so they should answer definitely for um, for these crimes. And it makes the barracks being the marketplace for illegal drugs look like a little kindergarten party compared to what they're doing. And um, do not forget about the emergency intake center that has thousands of unaccounted for minors coming out of there. They don't even do the paperwork there. So, of course, we have cooked books, we have manipulated books, and Richard was guide on bearer. That gave him access to the orderly room, that gave him access to leadership, and he saw something. He saw something and he said something, and it pulled on a string that would expose that whole marketing trade route from El Paso, Texas, down into Juarez. And I would think even like Colonial Juarez, with the China little um, what do you call it? Bus stop, train stop, their little court. Yeah, plaza. That's what it is. The Chinese plaza there in um, Novo Gandes. I hope I'm saying that right. It's been a while since I've talked about it. So anyway, it's that whole area is very important in this whole search for Richard. Nove Casas Grande, right? And I hope I'm saying it right. Uh-oh, my light went out. Let me see. Okay, that was really strange, wasn't it? So, and that area, of course, was founded by a group of Mormons. That's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I'm going to try to tone this down a little bit. There you go. And they could answer. They could answer so many questions. They could help us solve this disappearance and murder of our son. And yeah, where are they? They could shine a little light in all of this. But um, so many, because of our laws, because of our tax situation, because of just our culture, um, it has become a huge criminal syndicate to, um, I guess, be an uncomfortable participant. Some people are very comfortable with it, but I think some people are uncomfortable, but they still participate in the Vanity Fair. And that's why I call Veronica Escobar Vanity Fair Veronica, because what she's protecting, what she is part of, is a Vanity Fair, is a criminal syndicate. And Richard was blowing the whistle on that. And why should you put in a criminal complaint? Do it. Do it. There has to be in your life some suspicious, really suspicious activity that you've been maligned, and you have to, establish justice. That means you have to put in those criminal complaints. And so that is what, one after the other, what we are doing to get justice for Richard, to get answers, even little answers, because inch by inch, crumb by crumb, we understand what's happening to Richard. And we've come a long way from the beginning. And so, we have to be long suffering because a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 years is like a day, right? So it's all in God's timing. If you have any questions, and I pray that other soldiers will get on like yesterday, but I'll read to you um, why it's important to put in this criminal complaint. And a tip, the tip of the day for moms: when you have reasonable suspicion regarding the circumstances surrounding the disappearance, murder, or maligning of your soldier, it is crucial to take proactive steps in seeking justice. Submitting a criminal complaint can be an important part of this process. Here are some tips to consider when filing a complaint. Document, record, document. Start that journal, everybody, and gather evidence. Compile any relevant evidence you have, such as witness statements, like the cashier, um, like Nadal Baim, like Lalani Hart. Lalani Hart is a witness. She confessed in that CID notarized uh, criminal complaint that her son, Dallas Hart, when he was active duty, was engaged in an incestuous affair with his relationship with his brother. She confessed that she was in possession of child pornography, that it was in her home for long periods of time. She also confessed that a young 7-year old that uh, belonged to active duty soldiers, was service members, was being sexually assaulted in her master bedroom, in her home, in her master bedroom by several members of her family. Okay? She confessed that and had it notarized. So that is really important, crucial information. And the damning thing about it is that she did not report that. It took her almost 2 years. So she did not consider uh, the criminal complaint for a long time. And that is violating the law, because when you submit those uh, accusations, when you submit those criminal reports, you've got to do it in a timely manner to save the grief and the pain and suffering of those that are being sexually assaulted and affected by the child pornography and um, and engaging in incest. Okay, you can't let that happen. It is a pollution of, it's a pollution, y'all. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. So there's good reasons why our ancestors made that illegal. There's a good reason why God made it illegal, because God is so long suffering. He's so nice. He is so nice. And he has very, very few laws that require the death penalty. Very few. And very few laws, period. He has a medium sized book. A lot of, anyone can read it, understand it now. And it's just a medium sized book. The laws of man are in buildings upon buildings upon buildings, and the regulations and all of the case laws and all of the manipulations are there. It's too hard to understand. You have to understand the system, not the laws then. So it's who you know instead of the laws you break. And if you're guilty, if you're guilty or innocent, right? So it is very, very important to collect and start journaling all the information that you can. Compile any relevant evidence you have, such as witness statements, photographs, screenshots, I'll add, videos, or any other document that supports your suspicion. Now, we were told that Leilani Hart meddled in Richard's, tampered with Richard's file, and that was and is an A complaint to the CID. So they can't look the other way. It is can be verified in a complaint to the CID, and there's some other complaints too. So it's very important to put in those criminal complaints to let people know, especially in law enforcement, what's going on. Um, and we've been told that video was tampered with. Video is missing. Um, and more is coming out that I didn't know about that. So that's coming out now. So organize this evidence in a clear and concise manner to strengthen your case. And I know that can be difficult because it's time consuming, but it has to be done. Consult with a legal professional if you can. Yes, to strengthen your case. Seek the advice of an attorney experienced in criminal law, but God provides, right? God provides and brings people together. And then all of a sudden, you have somebody that is in law enforcement giving you advice. So they can provide valuable insights, absolutely, and help you understand the legal requirements, absolutely, and assist you in filing a strong complaint, absolutely. Contact the appropriate authorities. Research and identify the appropriate law enforcement agencies and jurisdiction responsible for handling criminal complaints related to the case. This could be local police, military police, or a specialized unit tasked with investigating such incidents. So we know that the CID was responsible for Richard disappearing, and we also know that the military police there at Fort Bliss were also tampered with and told lies about Richard. Um, so the smears on him were widespread, and the ramifications were um, were very obvious. Were very obvious. Yeah. Contact the appropriate authorities. Research um, and identify the appropriate law enforcement agency or jurisdiction responsible for handling criminal complaints related to the case. This could be local police, military police, or specialized unit tasked with investigating such incidents. Be prepared and thorough when submitting the complaint. Provide a detailed and comprehensive account of the suspicious circumstances surrounding the soldier's case. Include all pertinent information, such as the dates, locations, individuals involved, and any supporting evidence you have gathered. And so yesterday we gathered some more because we had Clarence coming on saying Richard was a great soldier. So that is, that he served with Richard and Cutter. And Cutter was the place where Richard decided he didn't want to be in the military because it was so bad there. It was so bad. So follow the prescribed procedure. Familiar yourself with the specific requirements and procedures for filing a criminal complaint in your jurisdiction. Ensure that you complete all necessary forms and adhere to any specified timelines or guidelines. And that's exactly right because I had to do special forms for the complaint on a notary public. And so that is, finding the evidence and everything that we had, that's still forthcoming. So that's really important to do. And, you just have to make sure that those that do want to protect the Constitution and establish justice, that they get your complaints. And you might not get answers like you want. You just have to, you can't do it for the answers. You have to do it to lay the foundation for justice and trust God that He's going to put it all together and give you answers in that way in His timing. So I think that's what we're doing. So and it's shown to be so fruitful that I have to come on and tell you new things every day. So, um, COVID seemed to really divide people, that's for sure. And, there was a 99% survival rate with COVID, 99.999, uh, 0.996, something like that, survival rate with COVID. And I don't know why they made it, just blew it up. Well, I do know for their purse, they force people into fear. Absolutely. And so this is what's happening in Richard's case, too. They're doing the psychological attacks, and they've tried every which way to sway our minds and to shut us up and to not want to look for Richard. And we just, you know, um, are not intimidated that easily. We've made promises to Richard. We're going to keep those promises to Richard. He's our son, and we are his advocate. We are his advocate, and I don't think anybody else um, is as much of an advocate as we are. So I think that's very, very important. Um, it is, remember, submitting a criminal complaint is an important step towards seeking justice for your loved ones. So you need to get very good at submitting those criminal complaints because that is establishing justice and getting justice for your murdered, missing, or maligned soldier. Very important. Stay strong and know that you are not alone in your pursuit for justice. So, and thank you for that too. Um, so, if you have any questions at this time, I can see and hear. Thank you so much. Bring Richard Halliday home. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Grace. Casas Grandes, yes. Nove Casas Grandes, thank you so much. That is where the plaza is, the Chino Plaza. And it's a beautiful area, y'all. It is so beautiful down there. And, I love all the farming. Am drawn to farming all the time. Ask my husband. And so that area has a lot of farming, a lot of ranching, and the land is being worked. It's wonderful to see. Um, and that's why it's so beautiful there. That's why it's so beautiful. And it has a school, and very affluent Americans send their children there to the boarding school. Um, and it is definitely a beautiful place. So, all this talk with the cartels, it's very, very interesting. And I think that we're going to find out more about the cartels because we are reaching out to Mexico. That's one of the things that we're doing behind the scenes. We're reaching out to Mexico. And because if America can't give us help, then maybe Mexico will. And so I mentioned something like that last week or a week before. We are still doing that. It just takes time to get the responses and to answer those responses, to set up dates, to set up times, to write letters, and all the while to gather more and more evidence, more and more information on Richard's case. And so, and I'm telling you right now, names are coming together. That's for sure. And that's giving us understanding to who's who and how they're connected. So, but I don't know if all of them understand what what Richard's case is all about. I think they've been misled, like our law enforcement agencies have been misled by the CID, by the FBI, in this case, and I think people have been misled. Richard is a yellow Interpol, okay? Yellow Interpol. That means he does not have any accusations or allegations against him. He's not convicted of anything. He is a yellow Interpol, just missing, and no one really looks for him. Okay, with a yellow Interpol, no one really looks. It's just a database of the missing. And if they were really truthful, and which they were not, Richard would no way be a yellow Interpol. He would be a red Interpol. And so that's really important because now, because of their meddling and also the image that was presented to Interpol, it doesn't resemble Richard. And I'm going to put that up. It doesn't resemble Richard. And we did a forensic analysis on that picture. And sure enough, I think the highest one, I mean, it was like 9% accuracy, which means nothing, that picture is not Richard. I think the highest one was 30%. But if we matched another face to it in this case, then it went way above 70 and also into the 80s in face matches, which is very, very high. So something something was very wrong there if they're going to use a tampered composite image to send to the Interpol. That means the CID was tampered with, interfered with, um, and they sent a picture that was tampered with, not Richard Halliday. Um, that's international violation because you are let's just say, Richard was an international person. He was born in Poland. He lived in Germany. He lived in Ireland. He had family members and friends in Asia. He has very, very close friends, several of them in Africa. And so, he's very international with Europe, across Europe, and also through people that we know, their friends. So Europe and Asia and Africa. So when you put in a tampered with photo to Interpol, you are committing an international crime. You are trying to mislead an international audience here that could give you insight onto Richard. And so that's a big deal. And so you know how many people thought about that, right? So you have to record everything, record everything, record everything, so you can go back and look at your journal and know, um, see things that pop out and do those criminal complaints. It's very, very important to lay the foundation um, for our children, for freedom, for yes, for finding Richard, for justice. Yes, thank you, Ricardo Diaz Festivus. Odd, you won't believe anyone without signatures or some form of letterhead, but will absolutely not question someone that sings praises to Richard. Do you know anything about this individual? Well, yes, we did our research, but we did our research. Okay. And I will praise him. You know, there's a saying, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Um, and what has happened in Richard's case is so unprecedented that you have a missing soldier. It doesn't matter if you like him, it doesn't matter what he was blowing the whistle on, it doesn't matter. He is missing. And it is unprecedented that we have been so bullied, so intimidated, so attacked that Richard was smeared. Do you know the smears? People don't even understand the level of smears against Richard because I haven't repeated them. They were so bad. And they were not targeting the vast public because they were blocking us from the vast public. And they were intimidating witnesses and still are intimidating witnesses, attacking witnesses, and even trying to ruin careers of witnesses. They were doing this with malice, with intense malice, and they're still doing it with intense malice. And they did it to Richard, and he's a yellow Interpol. And then we find out that they promoted him in December of 22. And in April of 23, they promoted him again only 4 months later. And he's supposed to be, this bad character person? Absolutely not. And then um, I can believe someone that comes on and says something good about Richard because I know Richard. And it's not absurd for me to hear because he was distinguished honor graduate for basic training and for advanced individual training for his cycle. He was number one for both. And he was really doing well with his PT. He was so excited about everything, and even the guidon bearer for his unit. Yes, he was a great soldier. And then you have this unprecedented attack on him where they don't even tell you, they don't even notify you. These attackers don't even notify you when your son goes missing. And then they don't even tell you that Richard was a whistleblower to Child Protective Services and to, no, we have to hear it from an unwilling participant. And because, I'm sure she's afraid of her life. Um, so then we have to go check it out. And lo and behold, Richard is a whistleblower to CID and to CPS, and that Tavita Nusa was his victim's advocate who betrayed him and um, leaked his files to Leilani Hart, who's up to no good. I mean, has child pornography for long periods of time in her home, who allows in her home that's used for child care. So, is this child part of her child care um, business that gets sexually assaulted in her master bedroom by multiple members of her family, of her household, That's better. So, yeah. Um, could possibly be nothing more than AWOL. He is not AWOL. He's not designated AWOL. They never called him AWOL. They called him dead while missing. That's what they called him. And to the public, they were trying to do a fake narrative. Because listen to this, y'all. Our house was searched and we were told that they were there to arrest Richard. And yet they had no warrant. And Richard is a yellow Interpol. That means he was never designated a deserter. This happened the 2nd of September, the very beginning of September. Richard was not designated um, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier until the 25th of November. So, the 2nd of September, he should have been designated a deserter, which easily would have provided a warrant for his arrest. And they can't produce it. They can't produce the warrant. And how does a deputy from the Sarasota Sheriff's Department just go to a house without a warrant just because he got an email? That's scary. That's very scary. So, yeah, I think that they found his remains. That's why we have these autopsy reports. And he was designated dead while missing. And he's had several different designations to be able to manipulate and go through the maze of Find Richard Halliday and the legal maze of it. But dead while missing was a good one because they don't have to produce a body for that. But to charge someone for murder, you don't have to have a body. What else is he saying? Sounds like you show favoritism towards those that only see things much like you. We are Richard's advocate. We are Find Richard Halliday. We are not stealing anyone's identity. When you come here, yes, we are pro Richard Halliday. He is a saint. He is our hero. He is my son. I love him. And we are advocating for him. And he has been maligned. He's been lied about. He has been murdered. He was retaliated against continuously. We have proof. And we have a Leilani Hart who has unbelievable, she has a high level of influence with the CID because she was having an affair with a CID agent, Tavita Nusa, who gave her these files. And that was in a criminal complaint by a judge. That was submitted as a criminal complaint by a judge. There is proof. There is witnesses. And I think there's a lot of stolen identity here. That other page should be called, what should the other page be called? Because they're stealing the identity of Richard Halliday, and they've stolen my identity. And there's others that have stolen Richard's identity that are up to no good, that were up to no good, but posing, imitating, impersonating Team Find Richard Halliday. And we're going to get to that too. And this whole thing is you aren't willing to listen to other possibilities. Now, that is the most absurd statement, because I was on the street in El Paso for days and days, and Jay Paulin never came to meet us to give his point. I even texted him to please come out and meet us. Please come out and help his soldier. I did the same thing with First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero. He refused. He said he was unwilling to speak with us. I did the same thing with First Lieutenant Brown, who said he was unwilling to speak with us. The same thing with Captain Park. Captain Park at least wrote us a letter, but he never revealed to us that Richard was a whistleblower, because Captain Park is in on it with the retaliation against Richard. We have reasonable suspicion that he was totally in on it, on the retaliation of Richard. So Jay Paulin, I was willing to hear everybody. And I still am willing to hear everybody. And I have invited Leilani Hart onto this live stream. Absolutely. I have invited her onto this live stream. And so that is the most absurd statement anyone could make. Richard Halliday's family tried to follow all leads, and they would love to hear all the wonderful things about Richard Halliday and all the praises. And why should the family question individuals that are doing praise for Richard? Tell us all the amazing things about Richard. Right. Because telling the amazing things about Richard motivates, establishes esprit de corps, which the Army has forgotten about, that will help find Richard. It will motivate people to find Richard. But what was happening is a twisting and lying of the narrative, putting out false narratives, even to the military police right there on Fort Bliss from guard mount, from their guard mount, which was that Tavita Nusa? Was that Special Agent Soto? Marlon Soto? Is that who stood at the guard mount? That's what we want to know too. And we put an inquiry for that, because Anthony Swafford can absolutely tell us who was standing at that guard mount spreading the false narrative to motivate Swafford, instead of motivating him to find Richard and we would have all the answers, but to hypnotize him so that he would sabotage the search for Richard, which he's implicated in now. He is implicated in a crime. And so if I was Anthony Swafford, I would tell who stood at that guard mount and did the hypnosis job on him. And it's his fault, because as a military police, you should know that the Constitution says you're innocent until proven guilty. That if you are a soldier, you need to have the other soldier's six. that you're supposed to have esprit de corps, that you're supposed to have the Medal of Honor ethos. You leave no soldier behind. You get them, and if they've committed any crime, which Richard hasn't because he's a yellow Interpol and he was promoted twice, and promoted twice 4 months apart, December 22nd and April 2022, December 2022 and April 2023. So, yeah, it's unprecedented the amount of malice and hostility. That's because they brutally murdered Richard after planning it. It was premeditated. And I'm at the belief at this point that they were trying to train him to suicide. They were trying to get him to commit suicide, but it didn't work, and they had to do the job themselves. That's what I believe. With the information, the screenshots, the level of malice, the level of hostility, the level of vile and vulgar messages, the vile and vulgar messages themselves, the level of vile and vulgar in the vile and vulgar messages, the also being racist in those messages. So they were trying everything. The level of infiltration and access they were given to all kinds of files. Rob's military file, our adoption file, the information coming out of CID to Ted Cruz. The whole kit and caboodle they were given access to. This is big. It is a great accomplishment that he was Distinguished Honor Graduate, and that does not mean that a person will continue down that path. People are human and change. I hope you find him, but don't dismiss. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I didn't dismiss it. Matter of fact, I'm on record saying that this is the only time that I really hope that Richard is a jerk, because that would mean that he was alive. The only time in my motherhood that I hope Richard is a jerk, because that would mean he's alive. I'm on record saying that to the media. My sister was like, why did you say that? I said, because it's true. Because I think he's dead in a ditch somewhere. Well, it was many ditches because they dismembered him. Name me a case. This is not just, oh, by the way, Pat Halliday, you're making people mad, so mad that they come on every time and, go on to your business site, go on to your mom's site, go call your hotline number day in and day out for months. These are people afraid of the death penalty because of what they did to my son. That's what it is. And, that's hard to wrap your head around because you don't want to believe it. And your psyche doesn't want to believe it. But they have the green flag by our institutions to cover up these crimes. The rape of a 7-year-old in Leilani Hart's bedroom. The severe and continuous retaliation against a whistleblower that was exposed by his own command. That the CID is responsible for the disappearance of Richard. The cover-up of Richard. That the DOD has committed crimes against humanity and hasn't stopped there, and is weaponizing itself, its leaders, against our volunteer sons and daughters. That the 44 four-star generals are serving foreign and domestic enemies of the United States instead of doing their duty and defending the Constitution like they swore to do. They need to be stripped of their uniforms, stripped of their stars, stripped of their titles. Because it's not just Richard, y'all. It's many, many, many people. Many, many volunteer soldiers, but many, many people. The people and the land. They've polluted our institutions. They've taken advantage of everything that we've given them, and we've given them everything. Right. And what bad choices did Richard make? He defended a young mother from her own friends and self and maybe family. They say they respect you, but they don't. And they don't. Do you know what I have been given about Boleyn that I have not released? The level, the pictures, they're not flattering. Okay? They're not flattering Boleyn Rocha. But she's a young mother, and she has been groomed to thinking that that is her potentiality. That sex is her potentiality. And Richard was trying to tell her, no, you don't have to do it. You don't have to. I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. He was trying. He was trying to help her. And, but there are so many people that want to exploit our young people, want to exploit our young women, our young men, our children. They want to exploit them. They want to use them. They want to commit crimes against them. And what do I mean by exploiting? They want to give them, join the Army, join the Air Force, join the Marines, whatever. We're going to give you $25,000 enlistment bonus. We'll give you $50,000 enlistment bonus. And then they plan and collude and find a way to sell them drugs, get them in trouble, where they have to pay fines. They get that money from them somehow, some way, through whores, through drugs, through fines, through their your DUI. So that was a whole setup. Your DUI, so you have to come in and you have to pay this money, and then it won't be on your record, and blah blah blah. I mean, this is such a scam at the highest levels against our young people. And they're just turning him into sex cult. You have these sex cult group. We have a colonel sex cult groomer of our young people. And many more. And many more. I get sent things all the time. And the things I got sent from Boleyn, I just didn't want to exploit her. She's young. She's so young. What is she, 20 now? I mean, she can rally. She can put this all behind her. I mean, look, I have Theodora behind me. If Theodora can do it, so can Boleyn. And Theodora's name went down in history as, wow, Theodora the Great. When you put on the purple, you never take it off. I mean, I can quote you lots of things she said. Um, amazing, amazing woman. And her life started off very grim, very grim. Oh yeah. Well, in the archives, they don't even have the field grade article 15 in there. They don't even have the chaptering in there because they don't want us to see the dates, the time dates. The time dates have been manipulated, in my opinion, because of the meetings that we went to and the discussions between the SJA and my husband. That was very interesting. I'm a little feisty because today was a good day. It was a great morning. Very busy, and just to see my mom do so well, y'all, she's doing good. She has a ways to go, of course, but um, I was telling my grandson today that, oh, mama, she'll be running around with you in a few months, and he's like, what? Because she could barely walk, and now she's got her breath back, and I'm like, she's gonna be running with you. So, yeah. Little feisty. Ricardo Diaz Festovas is another new account. Yes? Is that another new account? I don't know. They don't want to. Here he is again. New, yes, but perhaps it's only because someone doesn't want to have their name thrown around, much like a lot of the leadership constantly mentioned. Look, they do you understand? We have been threatened. Our lives have been threatened. Okay? That our son was brutally murdered and dismembered, and they are covering that up. Um, it wasn't enough for them to retaliate against him. We have a, we're at a day 1047. I'm not just saying this on day 36. I did say it on day 36, to be honest with you, to my son, but not publicly. And when Sammy was on board, he had a totally different narrative, and I said, good, good, have a different narrative. We need people looking in all directions. And my gut feeling is that Richard was murdered. And why can't I look in that area while others look in other areas? And what I have found is shocking. Well, it says here, prayers he is found, but sorry if I don't believe all that is said about everyone and Richard. Um, well, is Richard a whistleblower? Yes. Did he go to CPS? Yes. Did he go to CID? Yes. Did he get retaliated for ridiculous? I mean, it was just like, it was so clear, so obvious that it was a retaliation. It's not even in the archives file that we received. We have to question for it again. Is Richard a yellow Interpol? Yes. Did they use a composite picture of Richard instead of his real photo? Yes. That is an international crime. That is an attack on the character of the U.S. Army, on the U.S. government. Internationally, did Nadal Baim go into the Dollar General and say that the FBI had found Richard and Richard was dead in Mexico? Yes. Do we have the video of it? Yes. Do we have the cashier testimony of that? Yes. Did Leilani Hart go to a notary on the 22nd of July 2020 and notarize a confession, a complaint that she was in possession of child pornography? Yes. That her son, First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, former First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, was engaged in incest with his brother? Yes. Do we have the CID file number for that? Yes. Has it been confirmed? Yes. Does that file confirm the confession of Leilani Hart that a 7-year-old child in her master bedroom was being sexually assaulted by multiple members of her household? Yes. Does that mean she violated a law of not reporting that timely, that it took her almost 2 years? Yes. Did she receive the leaked files of Richard? Yes. When did she receive it? Before Richard went missing? Yes, because we have James Hart testimony also that he was under investigation because of his wife. She was using files to fortify her complaint. Her complaint was on the 22nd of July, 2020. Richard went missing the 23rd of July, 2020. Do we have a judge's witness testimony and complaint to the CID about the files, about many, many different things? Yes. Are witnesses being tampered with? Are witnesses being bullied? Are people that want to help being bullied? Yes. My good Irish friend, that Richard, my neighbor, she was so bullied. She went off of Facebook because she was so bullied. That all happened. Was I receiving vulgar and vile messages day in and day out from February to May of 2022? Yes. Did I manage with Team Find Richard Halliday to trace those burner phones? Yes. I traced them with the help of Find Richard Halliday. Did I reveal where they came from? Yes. Did Anthony Swafford say that he knew the character of my son and tried to sabotage the military police effort to find him? Or, you know, he was sabotaging his own self with other people trying to help. This is unprecedented malice. The lies. Did, I can go on and on. Did General McConville stage with American taxpayers' money a fake Find Richard Halliday task force? Did the military come out of uniform? Yes. Did they have an op order in how to find Richard? No. That's why it was staged. They had nothing to order them to do anything because Richard was died while missing. They are ready. Did Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe look for Richard's remains there at Area 244, which is the mock Afghanistan village, right there? I have a map. I have a map ready to go. Let's look at the map. Here it is. Here it is. Here's the area. This is the mock Afghanistan village, right? I even have a picture. Here it is. Here it is. There's some houses here. There's some houses there. Okay, some houses here. Where did he find the remains of Richard? Some houses here. Okay, so this is right by the airport, which is very interesting because one of our leads early on was that his remains were at the end of a runway. And so we were looking here and we were looking, of course, over here. I don't think it's at the end of a runway. I think it's could be around here for other reasons. This is the Red Rio Range area. Okay. And this, of course, is where there is the fourth location. I mean, the third location. We're looking for the fourth location. Do we believe there's a fourth location? Yes. So yeah. So this is what we have to research and research. And what do we get? Malice and a huge level of hostility. But did the State Department say that the FBI were looking for Richard's remains there in Juarez? Yes. When we called them, yes. Do we have that on record? Yes. Um, we don't get leaks, we get leads. Okay, we get leads. Every one of our leads were legal. Legal. Leaks are illegal. That is what Tavita Nusa did with Leilani Hart. That and her associates. Okay? They do the leaking. We get the leads. We get the legal information. Legally, we get the information. And we have our sources are very good, even those, yeah, it's very interesting that say, and I'm very confident of this now, that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. Okay, I've really been looking into that. Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. And, it pulls everything together, makes sense of everything, especially when you think of if Richard being the guidon. Okay, so he's the guidon bearer. He's the guidon bearer. He has he has then a close proximity with this leadership, with his platoon leader, with his first sergeant, with his captain, right? He has close proximity. We even have pictures of his close proximity. He heard something, he saw something, he knows something, and he reported it. And we have Dallas Hart up to no good. I mean, in an incestuous relationship with his brother while he was platoon leader. Okay? He is messing with his brother while he's a platoon leader. Now, that's illegal. Richard being a whistleblower is legal. Okay? Yet, we live in an upside down world where the institution is going to protect the illegal while exposing and retaliating against the whistleblower, the legal. That's where we're at. Well, then you know how important it is to look for active duty Army soldiers regardless of statuses. Do you have the Medal of Honor ethos? Have you assisted the military trying to look for Richard? Exactly. Exactly. And there was nothing done until we got confirmation. They didn't do anything until 2.5 months. 2.5 months. And they were except for spreading false rumors and colluding on, and falsifying. I think they falsified so many documents on this, um, hiding documents, because they were finding his body parts, y'all. They were finding his partial remains, and they did not want them out there just in case they would be found. They wanted, so they've tampered with his body parts. So, and am I allowed to say that? Because I have reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion, because I have so much evidence. I've got so much evidence, testimonies. Even the general, even the State Department. So, and one by one, we're going to get all of this sorted and brought out so people will understand this case. So, thank you so much. And thank you, Ricardo, for coming on, um, giving us your opinion. And thank you, Danielle, for all your insights. You always have such great insights. Um, and Lise Ricardo is giving his opinion because, I hear these other people, Hema, uh, I that's a stolen identity, um, and saying, "Oh, well, you banned me because you didn't like what I was saying." That's true. That's true. But let's say the whole story. When you are trying to take command and overrun the comment section with your talk on tacos and enchiladas, preventing Ricardo from coming on and having a platform, then I have to ban you. Then I have to ban you. That's the reason. And you know it. And even the vile and vulgar, um, they were vile and vulgar for a long time, and I didn't ban them. But then all of a sudden, they just decided that they would try another method and they would take over the comment section of my live stream with just talk of recipes of tacos and enchiladas. And I thought, well, you know, uh, this is Find Richard Halliday, not find a recipe for. And even though I love tacos and enchiladas, this is not, uh, our live stream, chat, our conversation, comment section shouldn't be about that. And it was with malice they were doing that. And I'm going to use that word. It was with bad intentions. They're up to no good. They're up to no good. And from the beginning, we just want to know where Richard is. And we wanted a win win. But they didn't. They want our volunteer sons and daughters to lose. To lose. And I'm really sad that I have to give you that truth. And it's been going on for a long time. But it's the truth. And that's why this journey, this investigation, this search for truth is so important. And we just can't give up. So thank you so much. Um, Well, number one, Ricardo, my dad, um, did you forget about COVID? We came back here. We were going back to El Paso, and my dad got really sick. Um, and our our choices were to put him in some kind of weird hospital because hospitals are, right now they're getting better, but at that time, COVID, they were insane. Um, to put him in an old people's care home, full care or whatever, where you can't even go visit them, it was insane. And my poor mother, they were married 60 years. No, what we did was we moved my parents down here from Virginia into our home and we cared for him for months, for months. And we had to move them here. We had to change everything. We had to find some help so we could get some sleep. And we had to train those nurses. And we um, we had some ups and we had some downs. And my father passed away. He gave us a lot of good insights about Richard's case. And in those 2 years of taking care of him, my mother had her own needs. And now she just recovered from major surgery. So today is a good day. A good day. So when was the last time? We were there 4 months. Now, we've been asked by the Malice Group to come back. These are who I think murdered my son. So what do they have up their sleeve? Especially after being threatened. And especially because DA Bill Hicks will not give us protection. McDonald will not give us protection. The AUSAs there are not giving us protection. They're not doing their job. They get a cushy office, cushy pay. They don't get their face exposed. They don't have to come on a live stream day in and day out. And they are violating their oaths. These AUSAs. And Bill Hicks, who is he anyway? Who is he really? What happened to Yvonne Rosales? Really? Really? Are you going to believe the narrative or are you going to dig a little bit deeper and see and think, maybe something other happened? Could the media be lying to us? Oh no, the media never lies to us. What? What? My daughters, my son-in-laws and my daughters, my daughters, our daughters have 3 children each. We have 8 grandchildren, 6 years old and under. I'm very blessed. Yay! um, so I do have great support. But if you know, you know what makes the world better when people get married and have children and take their duties to their children seriously. I'm reading Ricardo's statement, and I'm, especially if you have legitimate facts, wouldn't you want someone there to push? Yes, and that's happening. That's happening. There's a lot going behind the scenes, and the facts are getting pushed, and the criminal um, complaints are going in, and we're putting everything together. It's just took a while to be sure that we were had reasonable suspicion, and to find out that they didn't even have a warrant. Um, wow. So everything is coming together, and we're pushing, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because I think things happen behind the scenes that we don't know about anyway, because Dallas Hart's no longer in the military. Tavita Nusa lost his badge. He's no longer in the military. Clem Coward was relieved from his command because of loss of confidence. Lieutenant Colonel Roddick was relieved from his command because of loss of confidence. Um, I think there's things happening. So, but you know what? I don't need to see and understand everything. I need to do my duty. I need to go forward, and I need to trust God of the unseen, the seen and the unseen, right? Faith is believing in the things that you don't see. And I have faith that the stars are going to align, and the stars and their course fought against Sisera, and they will fight against these um, evildoers that murdered Richard. And I'm very confident enough to say it like that. Because when you put together everything and all of the language that was lodged at us, lobbed at us, um, it makes a lot of sense. And the protection of Dallas Hart was unprecedented. Why? Why? He's committing incest with his brother while on active duty. Why are they rallying around him? Why does Richard Halliday's family have to drive the military to do their job? That's a good question, Danielle. Exactly. They need to find Richard. And yeah, the military gets trillions of dollars. Their audits are missing trillions of dollars. They are obligated to care for our soldiers. They are obligated. They are morally obligated. And they have betrayed us. So I'm I'm just very thankful for the soldier yesterday that came on and said that he served with Richard in Qatar, and he did, and he did. We confirmed everything. We confirmed that he served with Richard in Qatar, and that he said Richard was a great soldier. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much. And I hope that he wants to share more. And I think that my opinion is I think that all those soldiers need to share more, because that's what's going to put them in the safety zone. If they stay hidden, if they stay out of public light when they know things, and then it comes out that they know things, that puts them in danger. That makes them a target. And that is one reason why being transparent is so necessary. Let your light shine. Don't put a bushel over it. No, right? Let your light shine. Tell people what you know. And that's why it goes back to these criminal complaints. They're very important to put in. And we're reaching out to veterans groups now because we want the veterans to know what is going on, and we want their support. Of course, we want their support. Um, so we're reaching out to, and thank you for sharing. If you can share to veterans groups, thank you very much. Share everywhere. And thank you very much for that. Okay, everyone. God bless you. It's close to midnight. We're going to burn the midnight oil, but God has filled our oil lamps. They're filled, and we can, keep going. But I want to tell everyone that we love you, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you sharing. We appreciate you sticking up for Richard, advocating for Richard, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. I think, inch by inch. I can't promise you when, how it's going to happen, but today I'm not going to be discouraged because it was a good day. Um, and yeah, I'm just grateful. So share it on TikTok. TikTok is also very important. We have lots of members there. I need to make some TikToks. Let me know your opinions on that because we do have over 3,300, yeah, followers on there. And, you know, we're not, I don't have a big staff. I don't have $1 trillion. So um, any kind of help we can get, we appreciate. Thank you so much. Give us Richard's remains and find Richard Halliday and stop child sex trafficking and stop exploiting our military and also our economy, our military equipment. Um, all of that is part of this case, and I just want to thank everyone for sharing. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow, God willing.